All right, you guys. So I stumbled across some new information that was implemented in the state of Mississippi as a new policy, as a new law. And of course, I'm bringing it to you so that we can all look into it and bring forth our opinions and what does this mean. We already went over COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO was the system that we compared to the modern day targeting, the modern day tactics of gang stalking, right? So now they're implementing a new law that Mississippi is comparing to Jim Crow. And if you don't remember what Jim Crow law was, it was a racial segregation and discrimination law that was enforced. Okay. And it was practiced and established in the southern states of the U.S. from the end of from the beginning of 1877 until the mid 20th centuries. The percentage of blacks living in the South fell from 90% in 1910 to 53% in 1970 as millions migrated to the Northeast and Midwest to escape Jim Crow and acquire a better standard of life. Okay. So pretty much the law was implemented to keep people segregated. And so according to the new policy that took effect February 7th, 2023, a lot of people are comparing it to the Jim Crow law. And let's look into it and figure out why. So the Jackson, Mississippi people are outraged. They are feeling that the new law has allowed them to be voiceless, to allow lawmakers to appoint different judges, politicians, police officers to come into their community based off of only being handpicked by white Americans and not allowing the black people who actually live in this community have a say so or a vote. So that means that if I'm appointed a judge and I am Caucasian, I can go get someone all the way from a different state if I wanted to come into Jackson, Mississippi and sit on the board with me so that they can help implement the law. So according to the Mississippi Community newsletter, this is what they're saying. Okay. The community is outraged that the state lawmakers are moving closer to establishing a separate justice system in Jackson for whites and African Americans. According to Mississippi Today, the proposed new law will let the state white Chief Justice of Mississippi Supreme Court, his white Attorney General, and his white State Public Safety Commissioner appoint new judges, prosecutors, public defenders, and public officials to run a new district in the city that includes all the city majority white neighborhoods. Such a move will create a separate justice system for whites versus blacks, and it would happen without a single vote from any of Jackson's 80% black residents for any of these officials. Quote, those are words that I was reading from a newsletter. Those are not my words. Those are not opinions. So now comes forth your opinion. This is not to divide us. The reason why this information is even brought forth to your attention is because what happens in other states, even if it's not your current state that you are living to, a lot of times it can trickle down and be a law that can be implemented in the state that you are living in, because a lot of time these tactics are done to see if it works well in different areas. And if it does, then guess what? The other areas will say, hey, we should do it too. So that's why it's important. What do you guys think? What are your opinions? Do you feel like this is another tactic like the COINTELPRO that's being brought forth to modern day policies? In my opinion, I just say we got to look into it, because it's not to say that a lot of people that are still holding racial bias intents are still living, and that these judges will create bias towards African Americans, or it's not to say that it won't. So the only thing I can say is moving forward is hoping that it doesn't.